One of the things that I've really enjoyed about working through the book of Esther with you is that we kind of know how it ends, because the thread of the book is that this monster, Haman, he achieves power right under the nose of the king, and somehow in this great civilized empire, he is able to put together a support system and a plan and financing and enough popular agreement to circle a date on the calendar with a red pen to eradicate all of the Jews. And the reason that I think we've been able to have a little bit of fun with the story and really treat it tonally a lot like the Jewish people have every year when they celebrate Purim and have for millennia. I think one of the reasons we've been able to take that tone is because we do know the outcome, and because Haman's efforts so colossally fail. It's cathartic. It's satisfying. And so I've enjoyed that this has been, yes, a very high stakes book with scary stuff being talked about and covered, but all through it, we've been able to strike a certain tone, and I think it's felt right. It doesn't feel right today, though, because yesterday morning, I still had sleep in my eyes and decided to read some news before I got out of bed and thumbed through my phone a little bit, and before I could even make decisions about whether or not I wanted to set eyes on certain things that I was seeing in my feed, I'd already set eyes on them, and I will never forget what I saw. I will never forget the images and the videos of the atrocities that have occurred over the last 48 hours as Hamas has unleashed a series of attacks against the Jews, against Israelis. And it looks like the whole thing is supported by external actors, external foreign governments who have long desired the destruction of the Jewish people and the destruction of the Jewish state. I'm not ignorant of the questions and some of the difficulties surrounding some of the land disputes in the Middle East. I get it. I'm read up on that. That said, I saw what I saw, and I'm seeing what I'm seeing. It's hideously evil. It's a primitive evil from the distant past. It's a primeval animal savagery and a brutality that you don't often come face to face with, that you don't often see on video or picture. This is stuff that our distant ancestors dealt with. The juxtaposition of those kids at that party out in the desert, a party for peace, and to see them realize what is happening just as it starts to happen, and then to read the accounts, which I just read before I turned on the mic. That wasn't a good decision, but I read it. To read the accounts of what happened, things I will not repeat to you in case you've spared yourself seeing this footage and reading these stories. That's just not going away. It feels like it's an awakening of a very ancient evil. It feels like it is the spirit of the evil Haman, a spirit who has raised its ugly head repeatedly through the very long and very strange history of the Jewish people, a people who haven't had a kingdom since the middle of the 1st century BC, when Pompey the Great rolled into Jerusalem. That was it. He deposed the Hasmonean dynasty, and they became a client state of Rome. For almost exactly 2,000 years, that people group persisted around the world with a unique identity, preserving its scriptures and its culture, and even increasingly, as time went along, its language. Somehow they persisted, and then under very difficult circumstances, coming off the heels of the efforts of perhaps the most nearly successful attempt of a Hamanite in all of history to follow through on the impulse of Haman, Adolf Hitler, on the heels of the Holocaust. In 1948, May, was it, of 1948, the government under David Ben-Gurion was founded, and Israel is a state again. A lot of people make a lot of different things of that in terms of prophecy and different opinions. Other people look at it from a strictly secular state and political history point of view. I'm not really getting into any of that here at all, other than to just say that's a remarkable stretch for a people group to continue to exist, undergoing massive persecution at the hands of the Crusaders, persecution at the hands of the Muslims, persecution at the hands of just secular forces that were jealous of their success. It's been a tough run. And then the state of Israel gets founded in 1948, and I wasn't obviously alive for that or even nearly alive for that. But it looks, from what I read about that time, like everybody knew this is going to be tricky. This isn't easy. This is the intersection of the ancient and classical world. It's the spot where the X marks the spot right between three continents. If you started the world over 1,000,000 times, there's going to be serious tension over this exact spot 1,000,000 times. But this is where it has to be, and this is where we're doing it. And unsurprisingly, the next 80-ish years have been fraught with a lot of peril, hostility, arms wars, ugly situations, hot wars that have been fought at times very quickly. Most of the time, stuff seems to get settled there fast. May it be settled fast this time as well. It's been a very strange and very difficult run, yet at the same time, somehow, Israel has carved out an existence in an area the size of Chicagoland, surrounded on all sides by people who usually have not been particularly friendly. And maybe it should be counted as a blessing that it hasn't been more violent, that more things like this haven't happened. But right now, as I'm recording this, those tensions have gone hot, and they've gone hot in the ugliest, most savage, most Hamanite ways that I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I'm shook by it. I watched a video of a family of 5, well, 4 at the time of the recording of the video, processing the loss of their younger sister while the bullets still range and while one of the terrorists offers weird comfort to the family. There's still blood. The kids don't understand death. It's jarring. I've lived an easy life, and an easy part of the world is jarring. And, I'm a dad. It's fill in the gaps. I'm a dad. I think about stuff. It is brutal watching that man on camera try to keep his family together and keep it together. Well, obviously, all he wants to do is fall apart and grieve the loss of his little girl. That's not military conflict. It's vindictiveness. That's not, we're going to line up and we're going to have a fight. It's the spirit of Haman. And not everybody who sees the Israeli-Palestinian conflict differently than myself necessarily is exhibiting the spirit of Haman. I'm not saying that. But the people who've enacted these attacks, the people we saw over the weekend, I think they are. I think they're right in keeping with that historic impulse, that historic underlying hostility that keeps rearing its ugly head toward the descendants of Abraham. Look, there was just no way for me to turn on the microphone and talk about a subject that so clearly rhymes with what we have been seeing over the weekend as I record this without talking about where I'm at and what I think and what I'm feeling about it. And I don't like this episode. It doesn't even count as one. I don't like this conversation. I'm probably going to delete it, and I don't even know what I'm going to do. But yeah, I just had to acknowledge it. I had to talk to you about it. And the dust will settle. I mean, right now the dust isn't even done being kicked up yet. And who knows what all the facts will end up being and how things will end up looking. But I know evil when I see it. And I saw the darkest of evil, an ancient evil, over the weekend, and I'm sick to my stomach about it. I find solace in the story that we've been looking at. The idea that somehow, even in suffering and incredibly difficult times and super complex political stuff that is above my pay grade, that God is sovereign and that sovereign God is trustworthy. But for now, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to say I'm praying for justice, that I want resolution to the things that I saw. I want justice for those things. I'm allowed to pray for that. I'm allowed to want that. And then I want peace and something that's built to bring that about for an extended period of time. And please don't hold anything against me. I'm emotional and I feel things like this really heavily, and I'm feeling them really heavily right now. And also, I'm excited to get back to the story that we've been working on tomorrow. And also, I trust in the God who is behind that story. And I think that's plenty for today. Okay, thanks.